Oh, it's you again. Welcome back. Something doesn't feel right. Oh, that's better. Oh, hi, I'm Marc, a professional artist and an art teacher. In this week's episode of my weekly series for artists I call YouTube Art School, I'll show you how to draw hair for your characters. Bald is always better in my opinion, but if you must draw hair for your characters, I'll show you how I do it for a wide variety of haircuts. It's easy. Quickly, let's get this class started. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention. Drawing hair has been requested in the comments for months now, so I figured I'd cave in and give to the people what the people want. Hair is just one of those things that most artists usually struggle with at the beginning. I did too. I still do. But at least not when it comes to drawing it anymore. At some point, it's just kind of stopped being a concern. Something clicked and now it's effortless. Like, not really effortless, but you know, kind of. So hopefully I can help you have the same revelation too. You'll see, it's easier than it seems. And you should be able to do this as a beginner as well. Just have to follow a couple of rules and avoid certain mistakes and everything should turn out great. You'll see. So it all starts with the hairline. The hairline is essentially the line between the forehead and the start of the hair, and it usually follows a pattern. Drawing the hairline should be the first thing that we do before drawing the rest of the hair. So where's the hairline? Well, let's quickly construct a simple head to find that out. First, a circle. And then we split that in thirds. Line up the upper thirds to the center of the circle, just like this, to find the line for the eyebrows, right there, the nose, the chin, the mouth. This line here then is, well, the hairline for most people. And by the way, if you want to see how I draw the head in a lot more detail than what I just did now, check the video that I'll link in the top right corner of the screen here and down in the description. It usually helps to start with a head before drawing the hair. Usually. The hairline is a little bit more complex than this though. It'll typically be like straight in the front, but it'll curve down when it reaches the temples as it transitions into the sideburns. From the front, it might look something like this, and from the side, like that. Everybody's different though. It can be higher, it can be lower, it can be a slightly different shape. You don't have to worry about it too much. It's not a big deal if you're not super precise. This just helps position it if you had like no clue before. You just really want to avoid drawing the hairline like way too high or way too low. Now, let's actually get to the hair itself. But only after you've paid the class fee of either 1 like or 1 sub. It's not much for a professional art class. It's good value. Do it now. The second rule then when drawing hair is to think in ribbons. Hair is too abstract, too chaotic. We need to give it some order to draw it properly, to construct it properly. Because just like everything else that we draw, we start with the art fundamental of construction. To construct a body, for example, we start with a mannequin, just like I did in a previous class that you can check out right here once again. But how do we go about constructing hair? Well, I found that thinking about it the same way as you would draw ribbons is a big help, and that's what made it click for me at least. Ribbons are just soft, long, flat rectangles, so they're fairly easy to draw. Practice twisting them and drawing them in perspective, and you'll have almost everything that you need to draw medium to long hair. Just like narrow the tips a little bit, and this already looks pretty good for a strand of hair. We're not thinking about individual hair here, we're grouping them in strands to make it more manageable. A couple strands of hair is a lot more manageable than like 100,000 hair, right? So we can start with just a few ribbons and add complexity by just adding more. Just like real ribbon physics, the flow of those curves is important. Try to avoid breaking the lines and as a result, the flow of the hair. So if you go with like a particular curve, a certain curve for your ribbon, well, try reusing a similar one multiple times to make the shape language of your hair more cohesive. When you don't, it's usually going to be the big reason why your hair won't look too good. The opposite of good shape language is chaos, so try to avoid that. No pattern and broken flow is usually no good. What's good though is my art program. We somehow passed 9,000 students last week, and to celebrate, I have a big discount that you can take advantage of. So check the coupon in the video description. It's valid until the end of the month only. Art School for digital artists is perfect for complete beginners and more advanced artists alike. I happen to have students in most of the major game and film studios around, so I really recommend it to everyone. And even better, it costs less than most pen display tablets. So check it out and join our awesome artist community. Now for rule number 3, we'll introduce some structure to the overall haircut, specifically how we part the hair. Unless all of your hair just sticks straight out, or maybe for like people with dense curly hair, their hair will tend to be parted, if it's stylized at least. So maybe it'll be like right down the middle here, maybe it'll be on the sides, maybe it'll be on both sides, in the zigzag, whatever. This line though, it really helps to organize the ribbons that I was talking about earlier. If this is my parting line, then the ribbons will attach and flow from there. The parting line along with the hairline give us a nice foundation for the haircut, so always keep those in mind. If anything, start with those. If you're trying to just come up with a haircut and you have no idea, try using the parting line as one of your first steps. In a way, it should help you settle on something since it kind of reduces your options. But maybe that's a good thing. It can potentially remind you of a haircut that you've seen that was parted this way. And for me at least, and I'm guessing the same is the case for a lot of you, a big part of the struggle while drawing hair is just coming up with a haircut in the first place. When our options are unlimited, we tend to freeze. But when we have constraints, that's when we get creative. Kind of a weird phenomenon, but it's actually a thing. It's been researched. Now, if for some reason that still doesn't help and you have no ideas, well then, use references. Your visual library is not gonna get better if you're not adding to it. Now, the 4th rule is to focus on shape language, the specific characteristics of your haircuts. I kind of hinted at that already by discussing rule number 2, but shape language deserves its own rule. For example, if you're drawing bangs like this and a ponytail like that, well, that's poor shape language. It's not consistent throughout. Good shape language in this case would be a focus on the shape of a strand of hair and trying your best to stay true to it for the entire haircut. So basically, what makes a strand of hair for that particular character? Is it fluffy and curly like, you know, a bunch of cotton? Or is it long and straight like the mane of a horse? Here my character has these chubby yet pointy sections to the hair, and that's not random. There was a conscious effort to draw it that way. It's essentially this simple shape that I ended up reusing for everything. Of course, I won't just copy paste this everywhere, but almost. I can arrange that strand of hair like this and then erase some lines to get rid of that copy pasted look, and this already starts to look pretty nice. The shape language is solid. It's consistent. I would break this balance if I introduce strands of hair that are like thinner, for example, like this. Ugh, gross. Don't do that. Shape language applies to the details, like the individual strands of hair, but also to the silhouette as a whole. Essentially, try using overall shapes that fit your character or your character's personality. If your character is meant to be like aggressive, mean, an evil type, well, maybe use shapes that represent the same thing, like in nature. For example, like spiders are like, they're predators, right? They're stealthy, they look kind of creepy, but what's their overall shape? Like a small ball full of spikes, right? Now think of a dragon. Well, that's fantasy, but it's the same idea. Like pointy scales, horns, long claws, looks aggressive. We're essentially just describing the shape language of those creatures. And that would be a great fit for a character whose personality shares some similarities. But if your character is meant to be like nice, like a bubbly character, always happy, then probably use shapes that communicate those traits better. Like curly hair, maybe. Short with a lot of volume. Think of the hair as an extension to your character's personality. Finally, rule number 5 has to do with line suggestion. When drawing hair, you don't want to have details everywhere. It's just going to end up looking like a hot mess, like this. Ugh, well, that's not very good. The hairstyle is nice though, it's not all bad. The main problem is that we can't appreciate the details when they're the same everywhere. Art is all about contrasts. We want to have details in some places and less to no detail in other places to have a range of details. And that's where line suggestion comes into play. So if I bring back my single strand of hair again, we could detail this by adding a few lines to make it look a bit less stylized, like more realistic. But oh, stop, that's way too much. I just said we don't want details everywhere. Instead, we can suggest the lines by just starting them at the tip and at the roots, but erasing them towards the center. And this way you almost get a sense of 3D, of volume. Much nicer. And by the way, I have a popular class on line art drawing, so check that one out to become a master at line quality. Link in the description. Now, what's nice with all of these tips is that they work for both male and female characters. From long hair to short hair, when you apply it all, you should have all the ingredients for drawing nice hair. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this week's class. I hope this was helpful. Let me know down in the comments. Now, since you made it this far, I'm gonna give you a link to download one of my 2 brush sets for free, including the legendary line art brush that I've used today. You can grab it with the link in the description if you haven't already. Also, check the videos I recommend in the outro. I'm sure you'll get some nice art XP out of it. I'll see you there.